Hey guys, it's Destiny here with Love Makes Family Grow. Today I want to talk to you about homeschooling. And so I was approached by a group of women and asked if we wanted to join with a collaboration of homeschooling around Canada. And I have to apologize. I am 35 weeks pregnant and I cannot breathe. So I'm going to be puffing and panting this whole video. So we're all going to be answering the 10 questions together, and my husband may be joining us for a few of the questions too, because he homeschools right along with me. So we kind of do it joint. But yeah, so there's 10 questions and we have a lot of amazing women that are going to be answering these, and I think I'm really excited to see what their responses are too, because it's all around Canada. Every family homeschools differently. We all have our own style. We all have different children, and so we can all learn a lot from each other. So I'm excited to kind of share what I've learned about homeschooling and what my children have kind of taught me along the way. So the first question is, why did you decide to homeschool? So our story is a little funny. We didn't really decide to homeschool until like the very last minute. So we registered our son, who's now 8. We registered him for kindergarten, and we really hummed and hawed on which kindergarten to put him in because we had the option of 2. My husband speaks French, so speaking French is really important for our children to learn. Mind you, we're failing in that aspect, teaching them French. We enrolled him and we put him in kindergarten. He went to his first day of kindergarten. And this was the first time he was away from us. And so he really struggled with it for the first few days, and we tried to get him to, come on, like you gotta keep trying. He loved the bus picking him up. He was really excited about that. But then when he got to school, there was just too much for him. Before this, we were kind of going back and forth. Well, should we homeschool? Should we not? And I have my early childhood education, so I knew that I could do kindergarten. It wasn't a big deal. And he went into kindergarten knowing like everything he needed to know to get through kindergarten. Anyway, he was really ready and really smart. So he did 5 days of school, and at the end, he was to the point where he like wasn't eating, and it was really stressing him out. We are a religious family, so he asked if we could say a prayer and if he could figure it out together as a family. So my husband and I and my son all kind of knelt around the coffee table, and he said the prayer. And at that time, my husband and I really felt like we should homeschool him, and so did our son. So after the prayer, he said, I really want you guys to homeschool me. And so we said, okay, yeah, let's do that. So we gave school a try for 5 days. I don't know if it was really a huge effort, but we seen our son struggling to the point where it was affecting, everyday things, and we didn't want it to get even worse. So we just decided, he's 5 years old. We can homeschool him. I was a stay-at-home mom, or I wasn't a stay-at-home mom at this point. I was working from home, so I knew I was able to do it. I was working about 20 hours a week, roughly. Some weeks were a little bit more, but I was able to do it. So I said, okay, I'll do this for kindergarten. Let's see how it goes. 3 years later is where we're at now. And I have given up my career to now homeschool my 2 children. So we have Ezra, who is in grade 2, and Haven, who's in kindergarten, and then we have our youngest home with us as well, which is Chance. So we have the 3 at home, plus I'm pregnant, due very soon, so we'll soon have 4 at home. And then big brother and big sister, who are in grade 9 and 12, are in the school system. The second question is asking how long we plan to homeschool. And I think for us, we really don't know. We don't have a plan of when we're going to homeschool. We know that we could homeschool like elementary or junior high if needed. And I think we're just kind of going with the flow. So the third question we have here is how much does it cost for homeschooling? And that's a tricky one because I think it's different for each family, and I think it's different for each year and each child. So the first year was definitely the most expensive year for us because we had no clue what we were doing. We had one friend who had homeschooled, and she kind of lent us some programs, which was so helpful. So she lent us programs and we got to try them out, and then we got to decide if we wanted to buy them or not. So that was really helpful. And then we bought programs that we thought we would like, thought our kids would like. We wanted to try them out. And so we did that, and we spent probably about $500 on just different curriculums and trying things out and finding what was best for us. So, it wasn't that expensive, but it was still $500. We bought a lot of books that were like practice books, and we spent a lot of money on those. They're definitely a huge waste of money if you're homeschooling because it's not a set curriculum. It's just like practicing what you've already learned. So, those were a waste of money, and we bought a lot of those because they were local to us. So, that is another thing where we are in our country. We're in Prince Edward Island, and we don't have like a place where we can walk into and look at the homeschool books. So everything we order has to be from online, or if we're borrowing it from a friend or buying it from a friend. But yeah, so everything's online, so you don't really get to like sample the books. And I know there's been quite a few times where we order books, I get them in and I'm like, oh, this is not really what I was expecting. But now we probably budget for the year about $500 to go towards homeschooling. Mind you, that is for 2 kids now. And if we needed to do it for $50, we could. Because now we know the resources that are available that we could print ourselves or that are free. So I think it really depends on how much you're willing to put into it. All right, so Michelle's going to join me for the next few questions. We're at number 5, and this question is, what is it like to homeschool in your province or territory?
So I think we're pretty interested to find out, what it's like elsewhere. But here it seems, at least from our perspective, it's pretty straightforward. You basically, there's a form that you send into the province basically saying that you're going to ensure that your child is educated for the year, and you have to do it every year. So every year we just print off the form, send it in, and they send us a reply letter saying, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, so it's really easy peasy, and then they don't check in on us or anything. There's nothing else throughout the year.
The only thing that you can do if you want to is you can put in a deposit of, I think it's $50, and you can request any of the curriculum manuals or materials that are being used, kind of that have been approved for use in the school system. And then, so we did that, I think, the first year, but we didn't really find it as helpful as we thought it would be.
Yeah.
So we did that the first year and sent it back, and haven't done it since. The other piece, so our kids are pretty young still. The other piece is kind of later on in schooling, like at the high school level, in Prince Edward Island to my understanding, I think to our understanding, there's no way that you can get an equivalency. So like a lot of homeschoolers, what they'll do is goodbye.
Bye.
So Michelle had to leave with the baby. But what he was trying to say is that because the government doesn't really check in on us, our students, if they get to grade 12, then they cannot get a high school diploma. They could, however, get their GED, but they cannot get a high school diploma. All right, so the next question is, how long does it take? And I have to laugh at this question because it really depends on the day. Sometimes we can get homeschool done in less than an hour. Those are really good days. But sometimes it takes us all day to get it done. When I was working and we needed to get homeschool done, we only spent an hour on it a day. And that was like an hour of kind of like me directing our son to do what he needed to do. Now he probably needs a little bit more, our 8-year-old probably needs a little bit more attention. And because of the curriculum we've chose for our daughter, she needs a little bit more time. So I can do it within 2 hours with both of our children. So what I like to do is, if I'm doing language arts with my son, then she can do her writing on her own. And so that way I can focus on him. If she has a question, I can quickly respond to her. And then once he's finished of that, he can do his math, which he can do on his own. And I go to her and do her language arts or her math with her. And then if he has a question, I can answer it. So I kind of do it alternate. And that works really good for me. I think my husband likes to just sit down with one child, get it all done, and then sit down with another child and get it all done. And so that's kind of his approach, and his approach sometimes takes a little longer. So number 6 is a question that we hear so much as homeschool parents, and it's, what do you do about socialization? When we look at the school system, we're putting kids the same age in the same grade and letting them socialize that way. You don't usually socialize with a lot of like the older kids or younger kids. It's usually just like your same age group. Well, when we look at that in the grand scheme of, our entire life, we're never really placed in that kind of position again, other than in school. So, some people have told me that, because I'm homeschooling and because I'm not giving my child that opportunity to socialize with kids his own age, that he's going to be missing out on something, or she. But I don't see it that way, I guess. I see it in a grander aspect that my son can socialize with everybody without a problem at all. So I had a friend come over with a baby the other day, and he was socializing with my friend and socializing with the baby. There's another friend that popped over, and she has a son who is, I think he's 11 or 12, and then she has another son who is 6, and he has no problem just hanging out and socializing with either of them, even though one is a lot older than him and the other one is younger than him. He doesn't have a problem with it, and he can socialize with whoever really easily. When we go to the store, he loves talking to people. He really loves it. He finds opportunity to talk to people. He openly asks people questions, and he's curious, and I think it's really wonderful. So question 7 is about what is your schedule routine look like? So again, it's kind of different right now because of my pregnancy and because my husband's home right now throughout the day. It's a little bit different. And we kind of change it up depending on where our children are, how they're doing with homeschool. So right now, we kind of try to get some stuff done in the morning, and then they need a little break. So then they usually play, and then we try to get it finished in the afternoon. And, but other times we would get it all done in the morning and then hang outside in the afternoon. Okay, number 8 is, what's your style or your curriculum choice? I love this question, but I struggle with this question. So for me, we do a lot of different kinds of stuff, and I've noticed that different curriculums and different styles affect my children differently. So when they're babies, we are really big into Montessori. When they're learning as toddlers, we're really big into Montessori. And I find Montessori gives them a really strong foundation for homeschooling later on. And then we continue with Montessori a little bit in kindergarten. And then I do like the Charlotte Mason approach for my daughter because she's really big into stories. So Charlotte Mason, you kind of tell a story and then you do your work according to the story. And she does really good with that. But my son, not so much. He does our language arts that we use is the good and the beautiful. And our reading program that we use for them at the start is all about reading. And I find the all about reading is so great because it gives them a really strong foundation in reading. And I, hands down, love that program. Think it should be taught to every single child. It is incredible. And so I use that with both of my kids. So I think it's different children we have different styles for. We're always incorporating math in our everyday life. So our math, we use jump math, and it's very basic to the point. I like a lot when our kids learn through play, but I think every child's different, and if I needed to use something else, I would. So number 9 is, what do or will you do when there's a subject you don't know or don't like? Okay. So that is a loaded question for me because I didn't like school. I didn't find enjoyment in school at all. I have dyslexia, so that was a really big reason why I didn't want to homeschool, because I was very nervous that my dyslexia would hinder them. So for me, for my dyslexia especially, it is very important that I have curriculums that we follow for each of our children, because I don't want to miss something. So for me, learning is still a struggle because of my dyslexia. If I do a curriculum, I know that they're not missing out on anything, that everything's being covered. There definitely is things I'm learning about now that I did not learn about in school. So I just kind of go with the flow and learn with them. And I will admit to my kids that I don't know something, and we'll learn about it together. Be like, all right, how do we figure this out? I think it's important for me to admit to my kids that I don't know how to do something, so that they can understand that I'm just human. And the last question is, how do you find time for yourself or get a break? Oh, good question. I don't know. No, I think my husband and I kind of go back and forth, and we do really well with going back and forth and giving each other moments if we need it. So I'm really grateful for that. When it was me doing homeschool alone and being home with 2 children and working, that was really hard. But what I would do is I would get homeschool done in the morning, and then in the afternoon they would be doing French And what French was it was a Disney movie watched in French. So that hour and a half was my downtime. All right. Thank you so much for watching this. Go and check out those other videos. There is a link in my description with all the other moms that are doing this. I'm really excited to watch their videos, so I hope you are too. Thank you so much for watching this and following along. If you have any questions about homeschooling, please leave them in the comments. You can check out my Instagram, and it has lots about our homeschool journeys and what we like to do and how we like to have fun with it. So if you want to check that out, the link is also in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.